Hey, how you fine folks doing? We're down here in Connecticut, an area that I don't think I've ever really botanized extensively or botanized on video. In front of you now is a massive swath of Tiarella stolonifera, a cool plant in the family Saxifragaceae, which is absolutely, excuse me, dominating the roadside here down into the forest. Quite an extensive patch, and as that epithet stolonifera suggests, it is a plant that does spread by stolons, modified roots that move laterally under the soil. I'm actually here looking for two species of orchid. Been here for a little while, haven't had any luck yet, but we're going to see what we can do. I was actually going the opposite direction of that which I intended to go. So we're gonna rectify that, and we're gonna turn around. We're gonna go back the way we came. Get a pretty good hunch. We might see Corallarhiza trifida, and maybe we'll see a species new to me, Coeloglossum viridi. They've certainly been seen in this area, and I guess the greater context of what this area is. This is an area known as a hollow. So we're in eastern Connecticut. Eastern Connecticut is kind of like the foothills of the Worcester Plateau. So you go north of here, you're actually in a relatively high area of elevation, well east of the Connecticut River, east of the Quabbin Reservoir, but still, up at high elevation. You go up far enough north to just north of Worcester, you go up to like that Leominster, Fitchburg area, Wachusett's over there. You're talking elevations up to 2,000 feet. In central Massachusetts. Down here in Connecticut, I'm not quite sure how high up they go, but we're here. We're going to have a great day, even if this spot turns out to be not, one where I can find my target species. More than enough to talk about here. Very lush, relictual glacial forest through here. So a hollow, think of it like a gash between, not even between two mountains, like a very, very small version of like a notch. So it's a hardwood forest, not much in the way of conifers, but tons of maples, tons of ash trees, green ash specifically leafing out. It's very, very moist through here, and it's in the shade most of the time. And I'm not sure quite the elevation, but we're not high up, but we're elevated slightly. I think you go up on the ridge of the hollow here, you're at maybe 800 feet. So down at the bottom, I'd reckon you're probably 300 or 400 feet. In any case, we're going to take a walk back the way we came, because I was, barking up the wrong proverbial tree. So we're going to go back the way we came. We're going to investigate some of those areas. We're going to see if we can find it, and even if we can't find the orchids, well, either way, we're going to talk about some of the other cool stuff going here. I saw a streptopus. Saw a wonderful adiantum fern. They've still got Trillium. They've got all the nice forest ephemerals. Most of them are past flower, but we can still take a look at them anyway, because some of them I didn't get a chance to cover this year. In any case, Tiarella stolonifera, beautiful. I mean, the biggest patch of it I've seen in my life. Not rare, but an inhabitant of these rich deciduous forests, and a northern trending species. Actually, I'm not sure if that's even true. It might get down there into Appalachia, at least at elevation. But we're going to say goodbye to Tiarella stolonifera. We're going to walk down the road here. We're going to see if we can find a couple of species of orchid, and we're going to generally talk about some of the other cool stuff going on here. A nice glacial refugia. Yeah, there you go. Nothing rare, but something you don't start seeing in New England until you get out, Worcester and points west. That's Zizia aurea. Cool spring blooming member of the carrot family, Apiaceae. Unlike a lot of them which have the white flowers. Zizia aurea there. Oop, come on. Got those cute little yellow flowers. It does prefer neutral to slightly calcareous soil, but this is a common garden ornamental. And as with any member of the family Apiaceae, you've got those umbels of flowers, and then you have generally heavily dissected and or compound foliage. Zizia aurea. One I always appreciate seeing, but not one I'm ever really, going out of my way for. Hey, okay, there you go. Not the orchid we were looking for, but an orchid nonetheless. This is a rather common species, and it's also not in bloom, but this is a nice big patch of a Goodyera pubescens, healthy looking patch of it. This probably the second most common orchid out in, generally speaking, eastern eastern New England, eastern North America in general. I always appreciate seeing it. It's got year-round interest with those beautiful, beautiful leaves. Goodyera pubescens and Goodyera tessellata, which tessellata's got a kind of different, the venation to the leaves is not nearly as prominent as it is on this species. Both beautiful, both common. You also get Goodyera oblongifolia and Goodyera repens very infrequently throughout mostly northern New England. This one is known from more or less pretty much the majority of counties in New England, but still appreciate seeing it. Maybe a good sign that we're heading in the right direction. We're down actually in the in the hollow now, almost back to where I started, and we're going to go the opposite direction from where I went when I first got out. Gotta be honest, a little creepy in here. You're in what feels like a giant trench, but the sun's coming out. There's weird birds making weird noises. This is like the part of Connecticut where there's just nothing out here, to be brutally honest with you. You go east of, basically east of New Haven, in that, basically eastern third of Connecticut. Once you get above the seacoast, like Old Lyme, there's nothing out here. Pretty sure this is where they shot Blair Witch Project. Certainly feels like that type of forest. Get some good habitat shots in here at some point during the video. The Owl House, which is a show I highly recommend. It's a cartoon, but I love it. Owl House, takes place somewhere in a made-up fictional town somewhere around here. Just a lot of very creepy, maybe even Sabrina the Teenage Witch, I think, is like this area, but lots of very eerie, dilapidated colonial architecture. No real, I did not pass a gas station from the time I got off the interstate till I came out here. This road is just like an old dirt road, I guess. At one point, this was like an old post road back in the day before they had, the state highways and everything set up. But it's, rather creepy. I did see a couple people, when I first got out of my car, but that was like an actual trailhead, which actually dips down and cuts across this hollow. It doesn't actually, it traverses it. It doesn't actually follow it. So for the vast majority of my day here, I've been pretty much isolated. Goodyera pubescens, hopefully the first of at least 2, but ideally 3 orchids we can kind of see. This one's not in bloom. Very creepy in here. I have not seen any of those actual, like the X's, the cross things that they make in Blair Witch Project, nor have I, been accosted by a suspicious owl. So far so good. Yeah, hey, there you go. There's a Trillium erectum in decent enough shape. A lot of these are kind of past, but I mean, I've seen Trillium erectum. You get up far enough north. I mean, Trillium erectum's still going off in like June. You get up high enough in elevation. But like I said, we're not necessarily high elevation here, merely in a shaded refugia. In fact, this guy would be on, I guess, I had myself reversed when I first came down here, but this would actually be the northern side, so the side that is getting the least amount of sunlight. And, looking around now, that does make sense, because I know I said not many conifers, but, I was at the wrong end of this thing. Now that I'm down in it, you've got a handful of white pines, Pinus strobus, you got Tsuga canadensis, you have, little fragments of one of my favorite forest types here. You've got your Calmia latifolia, your mountain laurel, growing in with the Tsuga canadensis, and some striped maple, and just an understory completely dominated by witch hazel. Fitting, I know, right? I mean, I can show you. I hate to do this. To you because people don't like it when I move the camera around, but like I was saying, there's a striped maple, Acer pennsylvanicum, and there's your witch hazel, Hamamelis virginiana. So, clearly the soil, the predominant substrate here is leaning on the acidic side, acidic to circumneutral, because I did pass, a nice patch of some blueberry, some vaccinium, which you wouldn't really expect to see if it was, completely calcareous. I did also see anemone hepatica, which is the, or anemone americana, whatever the hell they're calling it these days, which is the, anemone, hepatica, I can never remember the taxonomy for them. One of the hepaticas, it's the one that likes it acidic. Acutaloba is the one that likes it calcareous. You get the idea. Anyway, we're going to carry on here. Again, I don't want to hammer you over the head too much with the whole, glacial refugia, northern species in a southern setting, blah, blah, blah. But here you go. Here's another example of that. This is Taxus canadensis. This is our native yew. If you've ever seen like those evergreen hedges planted out front of almost every house in New England, yeah, that's Taxus baccata. That's the English yew. Canadian yew is just kind of a trailing, sprawling, little ground cover shrub. See, there's some growing under that tree there. Doesn't get big. I mean, Taxus baccata grows into a tree if you don't prune it. But Taxus canadensis just stays low to the ground. A plant that shouldn't be rare, but yet another victim of climate and hydrology changes, and then also just deer browse. Deer absolutely decimate populations of Taxus canadensis. Formerly quite common. Now, you usually see it looking a little bit worse for wear. God knows, how this particular little patch of it's been faring, but likes damp, shaded slopes. All right, excuse me, damp, shaded slopes. Northern affinity. I've seen it, pretty commonly in the White Mountains. Not rare when you get into the right type of habitat, but as an everyday, populated New England, we'll call it, plant, you're not seeing it too terribly often. Taxus canadensis, everybody. Oh, and it's in its own a weird little family of conifers, Taxaceae, which are the yews and the torias, and I don't think you really get much else in that family. So toria, you get a species down in Florida, which is another glacial Apiaceae forest. Look it up, Toria floridana. I think that's what it's called, which is, basically on the verge of extinction right now. There's also a Pacific toria. There's also a Pacific yew. I'm not sure how many species of yew we get native in North America, but certainly at least 2 species of yew and 2 species of a toria. So, make of that what you will. There might be more. Those are just the 4 that I happen to know off the top of my head. And I have a tick definitely crawling up my shirt right now, so we're going to handle that, okay? Here you go, just to give you an idea of the type of habitat we're working with here. So you've got some beautiful rock ledges up above. I don't know what type of rock it is. I could try to figure it out. And then as one pans down, you can see that those rock ledges gradually turn into a very rich, lush forest understory, for lack of a better term. So actually this area in here looks promising. I haven't gone down over here. It's a little more open, a little bit wetter, and a little bit ledgier. So I'm thinking that maybe I'll have some luck in this vicinity hunting for our 2 remaining target species. If not, I got a few more things I can show you, which, I throw in regardless for you. But let's take a peep around here for a minute. Oh, hey, here's something I haven't seen before. This is just Trillium erectum, but turn this guy around and he's green. How cool is that? Apparently they can do that. One of my buddies was actually just posting, some pictures of these. There's a big population of them. I've never seen them before. That's quite fascinating. I forget there's a word for that. It's not albino. It's leucistic or something like that. I'll put the correct word there for whatever that is when they turn. They don't turn the right color. There's some, non-freakish ones right there. And then right here, I'll show you a better specimen of this actually in bloom, but this is one of the streptopuses. I can never remember offhand which is which. I think this would be amplexifolius, but I'm not too sure because it's not in bloom. But it is a streptopus, and there is one in bloom nearby that I'll be happy to show you. Hey, check this fancy dude out. This is one of the Actaea species, one of the baneberries. No clue which one, because it's generally much easier to tell when the thing's actually gone to fruit, which is kind of odd if you think about it. But a highly poisonous plant in the family of Ranunculaceae, as many plants in that family are. Puts out cool little white or pink berries, or red berries, depending on the species, and the little peduncle that connects the stalk to the berries. Is generally speaking one of your dead ringers. One is a red-berried one is a white-berried one. One has the, but they can kind of vary in between that. Like they can kind of be pink sometimes. Beautiful little stalk of flowers on the thing, and puts out a nice splay of heavily divided compound leaves there. It's a cool plant. Not the rarest thing in the world, but something you generally are only seeing in a nice rich forest such as this. Okay, we are going to stop here because we have a beautiful specimen of Streptopus lanceolatus. This is a rose twisted stalk, and it gets that name, I mean, number one, from its twisting medusae-like form to it, but also, come on, work with me here, camera, but also the beautiful rose-colored lilioid flowers that don the underside of the plant. And yes, this is in the lily family, Liliaceae, in its own weird little subfamily, if memory serves me correct. But in that family, Liliaceae, more of a lily than half the things people insist on calling lilies. Like daylilies and what have you, which are not related to lilies. But still, a fascinating plant, one that I'm used to seeing, again, to fit the theme, up in the northern highlands of New England. I've stumbled onto probably the nicest little patch of habitat I found today. So if I can't locate either of our orchids here, we're going to carry on, because I've now picked about 3 or 4 ticks off of me. And, there's still plenty to see in the great state of Connecticut. At least this half of Connecticut is a great state. You start going too far west, that's just annexed New York territory after a certain point. But Streptopus lanceolatus, rose twisted stalk, I can't remember. There's 2 species in the east. It's another one you get eastern US, eastern Asia, pretty much where they're confined to. But still, a very fascinating plant, especially given the fact that it's it's considered a lily. I'll give you a little close-up on the flowers here. See? You're going to have 6 tepals. Beautiful coloring on the inside there, huh? Small but beautiful. Small but beautiful. It's a nice one. I really, really do like this. I really, really do like this plant. Yeah, well, that's a bit disheartening. We didn't find either of our target species, but Corallariza trifida, I know, because I've seen the plant before. I'll put up the little video here if you want to go watch that one. I've seen it before. It's hard to find even with exacting coordinates. And then Coeloglossum viridi is a plant I've not seen before. Don't really have an eye for it, and it might still be entirely too early for it. In any case, we're going to cut it off here. The nice shot of Caulophyllum troides, or I highly doubt this is Caulophyllum giganteum, but a nice blue cohosh. Flowers are long gone off the thing. We'll have some interesting blueberries by the fall, and I think we're gonna call it there and preserve what's left of our fragile egos. But we still have another 2 other and should be interesting target species to look at. So why don't we go check those out and go about our day. Still lots of botanizing to do. Still early in the day. The sun is just coming out now. Take it easy, folks. I'm not a superstitious person, but there's definitely something to be said about the fact that every single time I cut a video off and I say, oh, I couldn't find what I was looking for, oh, blah, 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 I end up finding what I'm looking for if I persist, even, just a moment beyond the point of giving up. So not only did I find Corallariza trifida, which I've seen before, but it was still cool to find it. It's very rare in this state. Again, this is globally, give you some context here, globally not a super rare orchid, regionally uncommon, most likely overlooked. There's a very healthy population of it down where we are now. We're gonna push our luck. We're gonna look for Coeloglossum too. I actually threw my waders on because I figured, hey, I haven't actually gone out into any of this habitat. Let's do that and see what we're working with. So this is, yes, Corallariza trifida. This is the early coral root, the circumboreal species globally. It's not the most remarkable thing in the world, but regionally it's interesting, and it's an orchid, and I love orchids, and it's also a Corallariza, meaning that it is employing, at least in part, some form of parasitism on the plants around it. So we get 3 species here in New England, then you get Corallariza striata a little bit west of us in New York. They're fascinating genus of orchids. This one is the one that blooms in the spring. The other two actually bloom rather late in the year. And this is the one that is the most verdant, the most green, if you would. So as far as orchids go, I mean, I can get in there. I wasn't impressed with my shots from last year. This thing doesn't really grow in the sun. You can see there, I'll put the little arrows. You've got your green, definite little green petals up top, green sepals down below on the side, white labellum, unspotted unlike Corallariza immaculata, and a pale green ovary right behind it. So this is probably the earliest one. I mean, there's a few early blooming orchids in New England. I'm actually going to do something I've never done before. This is going to end up in a super cut of footage, hopefully, where I can get this, hopefully the coiloglossum, and then hopefully this and the coiloglossum, then the what is it called, Neotia bifolia, which is southern twayblade, all kind of together in a video just to talk about like the early blooming orchid species. So here's one patch. There's another patch over there. Neither of these are the original one I actually saw. This is the habitat, so we were sniffing around the right type of area. We're still in the hollow. It's kind of tapered off here into more of like a grown in. This is like a hemlock swamp. Great place to be, by the way. And this is exactly the type of habitat where I saw Corallariza trifida last year. Different state, same habitat. You get some nice birches in here too. We're gonna poke around. We're gonna see if we can find. A coiloglossum viridie too. This is why you gotta persist. You have to persist. God damn it. One cool little feature of Corallariza trifida too, I forgot to mention, you often see it growing just on a rotting log. Cool little plant. I love this genus so freaking much, guys. I'm having some trouble circumnavigating the swamp, and it could, very well still be too early to see Coiloglossum viridie. I have no clue if the person who saw it here, I didn't really get too many details, if they actually caught these at the same time. It's still early May. We've got time, but I mean, man, there is a lot of... See, I feel better now because there's a lot of coral root growing in here. So I feel better knowing that it wasn't me. I just wasn't sniffing around the right spot. But let's poke around some more. Let's see what we can find. Alright, I think we're going to cut it off for real here. I'm seeing tons of Corallariza trifida, but none of the coiloglossum, so I'm guessing that we're just too early. I'm going to have to come back down to Connecticut for a different plant, an unrelated part of the state at some point. But I mean, this is an easy enough spot to get to. We'll swing by here again, and maybe in a few weeks, and we'll see if we can get a coiloglossum viridie. Supposedly that thing has a pretty long period at which it's extant, so we'll try our luck next time. Take it easy.